What kind of platform is that? It's like a Patreon. It's like a Patreon, but I'm not creating scales of like for $5 you can watch this for blah blah blah. It's like Patreon, but it's a $20 flat rate, and you can watch all my videos there. So it's really cool. All right, let's move on to this other piece. Let's see what this looks like. Man, it's been a lot of fun doing this stuff. Also, I want to thank you guys for helping me get to 40K followers. That's really awesome. Very, very thrilled about that. Those of you who have been following and liking, sharing the stuff, I'm very grateful for you guys. Thank you. Look at this. There we go. So I'm going to start with some black here. Mix a little bit of red. Black and red, man, you can't go wrong with black and red. I'm telling you guys, I'm a little out of it right now. I ate one too many tamales during this holidays, and man, I just feel like I'm super blessed. I'm very grateful. It's all been really, really great. When the whole pandemic first, when we first heard about it, my wife and I were like, oh man, what are we gonna do? It's like super crazy. But it seems like we got even more. It doesn't seem that way. That's what happened. We got even more blessed during this time, and I don't know if it was one thing or another. Who knows what it was? I can't even put my finger on it, nor I want to. But it seems like everything just worked out fine for us. And I know it's not the same case for a lot of people out there. And so I got nothing but to feel blessed and grateful. The fact that our business didn't experience any negative outcome from this. Just that alone, I mean, and the fact that we are like healthy, I mean, that right? But talking about being an artist and all of that, the fact that we're alive. There's just so much to be grateful for. I keep talking about this thing, man. This thing about gratitude really changed the outcome, the direction of my career. I thought I was doing good before I tapped into the practice of gratitude, and now things it just seems like everything just skyrocketed. And so that's why I keep talking about it, because I'm like, dude, if I'm not that special. If it happened to me, it can happen to anybody. It's this whole gratitude thing, man. And then some videos on it. We might even do a gratitude practice workshop. I know some people ask me about it. We might even do something like that for the artists who are signed up to the subscription. I know some artists are having a hard time wrapping their brain around making a career out of this game and that type of deal. And yeah, I'm a firm believer of working hard and all of that stuff, but nothing compares to doing it while being grateful. You can do it. You can be working hard and hustling and all of that stuff, and still, still not really understanding it. So to me, what the life changer, the game changer for me, was when I really started to get my teeth synced into this whole gratitude thing. Not as a theoretical thing, not as I read this book, and no, I mean I've been on this thing, this spiritual path or whatever you call it, since I can remember. It's not that. It's when you actually start practicing it. And when I tapped into it as a practice, not as something that I knew, but as a practice, it literally just, like I said, started skyrocketing everything for me. I was like, whoa, I didn't even have an idea that, sometimes we know things and we're like, yeah, it's true, but it just sounds true, and we even talk about it with other people and we're like, yeah, this thing. And then you get to a point where you're actually practicing it and you're like, whoa, man, I had no idea what it was. That's what I've been feeling lately. I've been feeling, what do they call it? On the clouds. And my wife and I were talking about it. We've been wanting peace in our life. I think like just about everyone else. As individuals, as a couple, and parents and sons and daughters and all that good stuff. We talked about it. We're like, there's got to be a different way of doing things. We talked about it for years. There's got to be a different way of doing things. A different way of doing things, like all around. Not just our personal lives or our business, all around. There's got to be a different way of doing things. What's happening? What's happening, Jay? Good to see you, my man. And to us, that was the game changer. Gratitude. Looking for that. Looking for what's, like I said earlier in another video, one of the things that artists ask me when I'm coaching them is it's the same question. It just looks different because it's geared towards different things, but it's pretty much the same question. I've been working very hard at this, at X, Y, and Z, and I haven't gotten anything in return. And I feel like things are, as a matter of fact, sometimes things are crumbling and this and that. And one of the things that I pinpoint is, what are you feeling, dude? They're like, well, what am I supposed to be feeling? I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be feeling something. Your gut tells you what's going on. What are you feeling? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling desperate? Do you feel like you need to bring in cash now? And as a result, what is the feeling? I don't know about other people, but this happened to me. When I started noticing that the feeling needed to move from being desperate, from being stressed, to being in a state of joy and playfulness, I mean, that's the feeling you want to be looking for. What makes you feel joyful and playful? You know, and whatever that is, hold on to that. Hold on to your life. Don't let that feeling go. That's your Peter Pan feeling. That's the stuff that makes you fly. That's your happy thoughts. Breathe into that stuff. So that's one of the first things that I ask, like, what are you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling this. Okay. Start looking for the thing that makes you feel not that. What are you grateful for? Can you breathe? Let's check that. Yeah, I can breathe. Okay, then. You're winning. You're already winning. Can you walk? Can you move? Can you... Now let's move from can you, right? Who do you have around you? Do you have your kids? Do you have your wife? Do you have your parents? Do you have some food today? You know, let's start moving towards that direction. What are the wins? Man, stacking wins. Every single mentor that I've had in the past, every single one of them, without exception, and I've had my share of mentors, has said the same thing. You got to stack your wins, dude. You got to start stacking those wins. It's the capitalist way of saying gratitude. It's just that a lot of them are capitalists. They're not going to get into the airy-fairy stuff. They're not going to get into the woo stuff. Some of them do. Most of them don't like to get into the woo stuff, because they like to talk about how they make shit happen with their own hands, right? They like to pull yourself up from your bootstraps and that type of BS. And so they don't call it. They don't necessarily. Most of them don't necessarily call it gratitude. Although a lot of people are understanding more and more that that's what it is. But you'll notice that they'll call it stacking your wins. That's what it is. They just don't like to use that word for whatever reason. I think they think it's too hippie or something. Too left. Not right enough. But yeah, that's what I've learned from them. The main thing that I learned from them is start stacking your wins. What are your wins? You know? Every single mentor that I've had, without exception, believes in manifestation. But they won't call it that. They will call it that. They call it all sorts of different things, but it's the same thing. They believe in the power of your words. They all believe in the same thing. They believe in your... Why do you think that most of those cats out there who are mentoring talk about who you're hanging out with, who are your friends? Why? Because that's your... Whatever they're talking about, whatever they're thinking, you're thinking. If you ever get into, I don't know if you've had, those of you listening, but if you ever get into a serious mentoring program with any of those cats, whether it's Ed Milet, David Metzler, Grant Cardone, any of those cats, if you ever get into any of those programs, you'll watch one of the very first things they talk to you about. They're gonna, well, David Metzler is more more about the woo-woo stuff than the others. But one of the very first things they'll tell you is who you're hanging around with, who you're talking to. What are you intaking? You know, maybe you have an idea about being an artist and blah blah blah, and you don't feel comfortable talking about it with your buddies, because every time you talk, you bring it up with your buddies, or it could even be the person you're sleeping with, your spouse, or your brothers or siblings, parents. Every time you bring it up, they're like, when are you going to get yourself a real job? Or something along those lines. And so you don't the support doesn't you don't have the support, right? I was listening to this dude, David Goggins, pretty intense guy. He's talking about, I think it was him. It was either him or Tony Robbins, one or the other. I don't remember who I heard it from exactly. I could swear it was Goggins, but it might have been Tony Robbins. Anyways, he talked about how people that come out of the military, many things are interesting about that. They for once, they feel like they don't have their cape on, you know, like they feel like they're stumbling all over the place. Not necessarily seeing combat or not. It doesn't mean that, you know, some people have been in combat, and that's a whole other situation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that have been serving and working in there and whatnot. And this guy talked about how they get out of shape right away, or they feel like they don't have the drive that they had when they were in the military. And the guy talked about it. It was a very interesting conversation. The guy said it's because when they come out, based on his findings, right? When he talks to ex-military people, veterans, he said when they come out, their atmosphere doesn't support them anymore. Because when they're in the military, the entire atmosphere is tough, right? And it's strong and it's supportive, and they're all checking up on each other with their exercising and you know, doing, like, having a plan, having goals and whatnot. And when they come out, many of them don't feel that anymore because they don't have the support. And so they started doing all these studies about how your group support is everything. Your group support is everything. And man, I haven't been in the military, but I can attest to that as an artist. How your group support is everything. Who are you listening to? That type of deal. Dude, that's so true. Jay says we're typically the result of the 5 closest to us. That is very, very true. We're the average, right? We're the average of the 5 people closest to you. Well, thank you so much, Eric. And so I found that very interesting, how the environment, if the environment doesn't support you, we're like plants, you know. If the environment doesn't support you, it's very hard to make it. So if you're an artist and you're thinking about making, you have a plan for your career or whatever, and you keep talking to people around you who don't have that plan with you, who don't support that plan, who every time you talk about your plan, they talk down on it, or they let you know with little funny words or interesting ways of telling you there's no way you're gonna make it, dude. What the hell are you even talking about? That type of deal. Or you should stop dreaming, man. What's wrong with you? You know, you're going into your 40s or 50s and you keep talking about that stuff. You know, something's wrong, man. Blah blah blah. That's all negativity. That's all stuff you don't want to be around. That stuff. I'm not saying stop talking to your friends or never talk to them again